you could all please remain standing while the Mayor's chaplain offers prayers.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that affect the people in our communities. And continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you and the service of humanity. We ask these things through Jesus Christ our Lord, who is alive and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you very much for Reverend David for coming in. Please be seated. Now, I need to remind you that officers are recording the public part of this meeting today, which will again be uploaded to the Council's YouTube channel after the meeting. There are no plans for a fire alarm test, so if you do hear the alarm, please leave the building by the nearest exit. Please ensure that mobile phones are switched off or on silent. Restrooms are located on all floors, but please ask a member of staff for details should you require one. No one in the public gallery. Now, tomorrow we will be commemorating Holocaust Memorial Day, which encourages remembrance in a world scarred by genocide. The 27th of January marks the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, the largest Nazi death camp. Holocaust Memorial Day is an international day to remember the 6 million Jews murdered during the Holocaust, alongside the millions of other people killed under the Nazi persecution of other groups, and also in genocides that followed in the likes of Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia and Darfur. Together we bear witness for those who endured genocide and honour the survivors and all those whose lives were changed beyond recognition. I would like to bring in Councillor Khan, the Cabinet Member for Communities and Social Justice, who will advise how the Council will commemorate the day. Councillor Khan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just like to echo firstly the significance of Holocaust Memorial Day and commemoration for this day. However, I would like to say that Holocaust Memorial Day is a time that we are supposed to learn lessons from the past and recognise that genocide did not take place on its own. It was as a result of hatred, rising from hatred of race, religion, and today we also have a rise in hatred and hate crime due to gender, sexual orientation, and also religion, where Islamophobia and anti-Semitism is on the rise. Each year, the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust chooses a particular theme to explore really what it is all about and remembrance as well. This year, the theme is Ordinary People. Ordinary People is about, it highlights ordinary people were part of who were the persecutors. Ordinary people were people that allowed it to take place. Ordinary people were the victims during this genocides and Holocaust. So we also, as ordinary people, have a role to play in this, in the work that we do to challenge any form of hate crime, in particular where it is about individuals' religious beliefs or their sexual orientation or gender. This council has been working along with partner organisations from the voluntary, community and faith sector to create greater community cohesion. We have a faith covenant that works collaboratively on projects that the council can enhance its community cohesion and the work to eliminate hate crime as much as possible. This year, what we are doing for Holocaust Memorial Day is that we will be raising the flag at half-mast. The markets will be lit in purple, with purple lights. In the library, we will be showing a video and there will be material with regards to the significance of Holocaust Memorial Day. So that will be running in the library. We also have put out a statement on behalf of the leader and myself, as well as the Community Justice portfolio holder. There will also be tonight a special commemoration. If you want to go online, it's being online streamed, so that will be held tonight as well. So that is what we are doing, and I would just like to say that there we go. Especially with the schools that we're working, raising through education, the projects that we have with Show Racism the Red Card. It's all about anti-racism and raising the awareness through education projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Khan, and I'm sure I would like to, along with everyone else, echo your comments as well. So if I can ask if everyone can please stand for a minute's silence. Thank you very much. Now, depending on how we progress today, I may adjourn to take a short comfort break, but we will see how we proceed. Are there any declarations of interest? If members can please indicate if they have any disclosable pecuniary interest or personal and prejudicial interest in the items being discussed on the agenda today. Got no indications, so I will assume we're okay. Item number 3, minutes of meeting held on the 15th of December 2022. Are members happy that I sign the minutes as a correct record? Yes. Excellent, thank you very much. Item 4 is questions from members of the public, however none have been submitted on this occasion. Now we'll take item number 5, which is the questions to Cabinet members, chairs of committees and representatives of outside bodies. Members are entitled to ask a question of any Cabinet member or chair of a committee within their portfolio or terms of reference. Only one supplementary question may be asked, provided it is relevant to the original question. We haven't received any written notifications for questions from members appointed to serve on outside bodies. If anyone has any questions to ask on the information items on the agenda, including the special urgency decisions, they should do so at this point, as another opportunity will not be given when we reach those items. So if you could pop your hands up if you'd like to ask any questions, please. Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can everyone hear all right? Good. My question is to Councillor Peter Kelly. It's not that difficult, don't panic. I've recently been talking to somebody who's working in the Barracks Museum at Preston, and there they hold a lot of things that are relevant to the story of Preston. Now, we do know that the barracks is going to be sold off at some point, not too far in the distant future, and that will mean that the collection needs to be looked after. Now, the collection's in 3 parts. Part of it belongs to Preston, part of it to, I think, Blackburn, and one to Wigan, Warrington. So, but what can we do as a council to help the story of Preston, the military story of Preston, continue and remind people of those days of conflict? Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. As it happens, I had a meeting with the commandant, the commander at the regiment, with Amber. It's in our ward, but we also had conversations prior to that about the regimental museum. It is on our radar. Obviously, I guess as long as Ben's where Ben is, for the time being, that it seems to be it's on delay. But certainly, in the reimagining, we've had conversations about how we represent the regiment in the Harris when it reopens. So it's in hand, and I have actually spoken to the trustees of the regimental museum as well. So watch this space.
My questions, Mr. Mayor, my questions to the Leader of the Council. Many women don't trust the police since stories of police-perpetrated abuse of women have emerged. This is not just an issue for London with the conviction of David Carrick, but I would suggest it's a national problem with misogyny being part of the culture of the police. Lancashire, including Preston, do not escape this. Last November, a police constable who works in the South Division, which includes Preston, was charged with attempted murder of his ex-girlfriend. What the David Carrick situation shows is that the police can get away with sexual abuse, rape and domestic abuse and carry on working as police officers. Actions such as a need for independent reporting and investigation system so that victims of police perpetrators can come forward with greater confidence. We need effective protection for whistleblowers within the police. We need to ensure that recruitment, including suitable vetting, takes place. Would the Leader of the Council agree to ask for a meeting with the Police and Crimes Commissioner to raise this issue, which is of concern to women in Preston? Thank you.
Councillor Wise, thank you very much for the question. I'm happy to agree to all of that. It's quite shocking seeing the stories that we've seen in the Met of the fact that this police officer had been getting away with these crimes for nearly 2 decades. There'd been actual 8 warnings that went to the Metropolitan Police that weren't acted on. Any kind of sexual abuse, sexual attack, rape or sexual crimes is horrific within itself, but it's amplified when that is done within people who have power and institutions that have power. And hearing that, my mind went back to the 60s, 70s and 80s where there was institutionalised abuse in many instances and people hid behind institutions to actually hide the fact abusers were within it. So we saw crimes that came out about Jimmy Savile and others, didn't we, about 10 years ago. They got away with it for decades, you know. So I'm more than happy to do that. I will set that meeting up. Additionally, we also have a meeting with the Chief Superintendent, Stasia Osiawi. She's new and I hope I pronounced that correct. And obviously she's going to be addressing all members, and I think that's a question that we'll put on for members to actually ask her, because I think it's statutory questions that she's asked, because ultimately, you know, with power comes responsibility. There's nothing worse than people with great responsibility and power that abuse that and get away with, frankly, murder in some instances. Thank you very much.
Do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that reply. In relation to women not trusting the police here in Preston, I think that another issue that's similar, which shows about the lack of trust that needs to be discussed with the Police and Crimes Commissioner and with the Chief Superintendent, is the fact that sometimes police officers attend victims, maybe of honour-based abuse, who don't speak English, and they actually talk to the perpetrator instead of using an interpreter, which obviously means that it actually is putting those people in further situations. So I think it's really important that we can see that women and victims of domestic abuse really can trust the police in terms of when they're raising legitimate concerns and crimes with them. Thank you.
Councillor Wise, yeah, I completely agree. We need to listen to the voices of women and obviously voices of female members of this chamber, some of whom actually work in this field. You know, I don't think this should not be a men-led debate, it should be a woman-led debate. And obviously issues around how minority communities need extra support, which they do in many instances, and how that needs to be taken seriously by by the police and even other organisations when it comes to matters like this. So I'm more than happy to raise that as well with the Police and Crime Commissioner, and additionally an opportunity soon with the Chief Superintendent, and I think we should raise that as well going forward. But every credit value for raising this, because, you know, we need to, it's not an easy subject to talk about, but women in our community need to be reassured that this authority is completely against any forms of abuse against women, and even holding institutions to account if it's taking place within it, and making sure that they actually have checks and balances to prevent it from happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duke, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a question for the leader. In fact, I've got two questions. They're both very short, if that's all right. So, against the wishes of many residents, particularly in North West Preston, Lancashire County Council appear to be moving forward with locating the new schools outside of the North West Preston master plan. I was just wondering what the view is of the leader on this.
I would like to defer if possible to Councillor Borrow, because he has a portfolio for planning and regulation. I do sit on the city deal, and obviously we've been pushing for county-led schools as part of it, and I can raise it there, but I think it needs to go to David first, and I'll jump in legally. Is that okay, Dave? Yep.
Councillor Duke, if you'd like to come back with your supplementary and perhaps weave in your second question into there if you do have one. Because we can't come back for a second question, if that makes sense.
Right. So raise that now. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So the second question was, with photo identification being required for the upcoming local elections, are there any plans to run drop-in sessions to actively help people apply for the voter ID that will be required?
We will look to do that, but again, this is a question for Councillor Rawlinson, and I'm sure he'll answer that in due course during this debate. Thank you.
Sorry, if I can bring in Councillor Borrow to answer the first question as well.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've had a number of discussions, as have officers, with the schools team at the County Council, and was always told they would have sufficient time to go ahead with building the schools that were required in North West Preston, and that included the secondary school, where there is a site near the M55, and the requisite primary schools. They have decided, or will be deciding very shortly, to go ahead with the permanent expansion of Lear County Primary in my ward, bringing children from North West Preston to there when that moves from single form to double form entry. And they've also announced the reopening of Tulketh High School as being policy. And when I've had a discussion with officers, the response I get is they haven't got time, they've miscalculated the number of places they need in the timescale, and therefore aren't able to build the new secondary school or the required number of primary school places to meet the demand that is coming in North West Preston. And this was certainly not the message I was getting 6 months ago, and that is something we will need to have further conversations with the County Council. Obviously, Councillor Potter isn't here today, but clearly he, as the County Councillor for most of North West Preston, will play a key role in persuading the County Council to deliver on the promises it made 12 months ago. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Duke, what we'll do is we'll come back at the end if there's any time at that point. I apologise, I should have dealt with that better at the start as well, but thank you. But for now, if I can bring in Councillor Duckworth, please.
This is a question for either Councillor Khan or Councillor Mean. I'd just like to ask what the Council is doing to support both World Autism Acceptance Week, the 28th of March to the 3rd of April, and the accompanying World Autism Day, which is on the 2nd of April.
Firstly, would like to say that last year, through my funding, I supported a particular project and group working with autistic children. What we have now, we've prepared a calendar of social events, significant as just like today, as we're talking about the Holocaust Memorial Day. In due course, we'll be sending out a statement, putting it out on social media. We've not yet planned if there's anything significant that we'll be doing for World Autism Day, but I'm welcome to have a chat with you about that, and maybe we could do something. Okay, thank you.
Any supplementary? No. Okay, can I bring in Councillor Crowe, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to our leader. After we've been successful with the Levelling Up Fund, mainly down to, I presume, our officers putting in a great bid, would our leader like to comment on it, please?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Crowe. Obviously, we're all extremely delighted about being successful. I just want to pay tribute to our officer team for putting it together at a very short notice. We've got to remember that there was 525 bids in stage 2, and there was only 111 successful, so 20% were successful. We were one of them, and that testifies to the strength of the bid. It's pretty amazing. So it's 25 million, including 20 million new funding that will be going into our communities. From a member's perspective, especially a Labour member perspective, we were very keen to get more money into our deprived communities, less well-off communities. Got lots of money into our city centre through Towns Fund, but this will obviously regenerate our main parks with sports and community facilities. Obviously the tram bridge has been something of a hot topic that will now be resolved as part of this, which will be welcome to many. We've been trying to resolve that since 2019 by other means, by the way, but that's a separate story. But crucially, moving towards net zero, so there's going to be a real culture change in terms of encouraging active travel, walking, cycling, electronic bikes and the rest of it. And obviously we need to take drastic measures to actually tackle the climate emergency, and this will go some way to doing it, really. What I would say though, Councillor Crowe, is that the whole way that this funding mechanism works isn't particularly fair. Obviously we're delighted here for our communities. I'm good friends with Paul Foster and Alistair Bradley in South Ribble and Chorley. They've not got a penny. It just doesn't seem fair that it's been done this way. Additionally, you know, this doesn't go any way back to the £1 billion plus that local governments lost across Lancashire. It does help, but you know, we need to get back to pre-2010 levels. So obviously a big thanks from everyone on the Labour side, officers and team for this bid, and obviously this will really benefit our communities going forward, and that wealth will ripple into the areas that need it the most. Thank you very much.
Councillor Burrows, more information on this you're bringing in?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a particular point about a lot of the projects already being drawn up before we knew the criteria for the bid, because we didn't know the criteria until early spring last year, and we'd only a matter of weeks before the document had to be downloaded when the Department for Levelling Up Fund website was ready to have things downloaded on it. But fortunately, a lot of our staff had worked on projects in different parks which were ready, and therefore we were able to move quickly. And I think that's the lesson for Preston, and the success of Preston has been the number of times we've had projects already in situ or developing that we could move. Because I think it's worth pointing out, we were successful, but I saw some figures today in respect of the bids for investment zones, which we put a bid in for. A few weeks later, the government cancelled that. The estimate is that that cost councils between 20 and 30,000 plus officer time for each of those bids. So that's again another huge chunk of money from local government wasted on government chicanery and indecision. Clearly, a lot of people have said this is not really the way to do it. We would get a much better system if government says, this is the money you are entitled to because of your need, and you can work out how and when you can spend it. The money we've got, the 20 million, has to be spent by the end of March 2025, and our officers will have to work their socks off the next few weeks, working out if the estimates in that original bid were correct. Can we get the contracts delivered in time? Can we get the bridge master at LCC to work with us to deliver the bridge by the end of March 2025. Nobody would organise all these projects in this sort of timescale if they had any sense. But that's the rules that we're having to work within, and it is not sensible. It's not the best way to spend money. It's not the most cost-effective way for our officers to use their time and for government taxpayers' money to be spent. But I'm pleased we've got it. Not many of us thought we had a chance, but we have been successful. We need to make sure that in the same way as we have done with the Towns Fund bid, we get it, we deliver, and we need to deliver on this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Crowe, did you have any supplementaries on that?
I'd just like to say, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say that it's 20 million, it's useful, but it doesn't compensate us for the amounts that we've been deprived of and the staff we've lost over the last 11 years. Thanks.
Don't think that was a question, so we'll move on to the next one. Councillor Green, please.
Thank you. Yeah, just a bit of a question for Councillor Khan. Part of it you have covered now. I was just obviously concerned that we weren't going to be doing anything for the Holocaust Memorial Day, because there hadn't really been, well, I don't think there's been anything advertised yet. Obviously, it's great to hear that you're lighting everything up. I was just wondering if perhaps in the future we might do a bit of a memorial sort of service, even if it's just in the market square or something. I don't know if anyone knows that I do my PhD, which focuses on genocide, so I'm obviously more than aware of when this date is, but just concerned that a lot of other people might not know when this day normally would be. Thank you.
Sorry, I just have to correct you on that about not putting anything out. We have actually, it's out on social media through our comms team. Like I mentioned earlier, that what we're doing in the library is that we will be showing the video, and also there'll be material there as well, which will be up for the whole week. Actually, that will be there. So there are things being done. Now, with regards to the service, we do annually have a service, and we had actually liaised with Father David, I think it is, from St George's Church, or I can't remember which church it is. And this year they weren't having a service. So that was discussed. We had actually spoken to them about that. But it may be due to commitments of their own that weren't able to hold the service, and that is the reason. But hopefully next year we will pursue that, and we will have a service, as well as the other social media material that we have. And maybe next year, due to capacity this year, I wasn't able to hold an event, but we're going to actually couple it up with Hate Crime Week, and mention it at Hate Crime Week when we do a particular, with other partner organisations, we're holding an event. Would that be okay? Thank you.
Yeah, that was great, thank you. Yeah, sorry, I probably wasn't clear about the social media thing. Obviously, I noticed there was something posted yesterday. I just meant more like I hadn't noticed anything advertising a sort of service or anything. I know you mentioned there was one tonight. Is that the Holocaust Memorial Day, the official one that you're talking? Yeah, good, yeah.
Linked to the commemoration, and then they talk about the theme as well, so that's on tonight's, but I can forward that link. But I think that link has also been put out on social media as well, to my knowledge anyway. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. If I just remind councillors if they could please stand when they're speaking. It's my fault I didn't say beforehand. Councillor Sue Whittam, if I could bring you in, please.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, my question's already been asked. Thank you.
Councillor Saxena, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to Councillor Rawlinson, because this falls under his portfolio. I wonder if, Councillor Rawlinson, you give us an update on where the council is going with the need, unnecessary need actually, for voter ID in the May elections. If there was a waste of money by council, this is it.
Okay, so we had a very good debate on this at last council. It wasn't really 100% clear whether this was definitely going to happen at last council. It certainly looks that way now. The link is now open on the government website to get I think they're calling it a voter authorisation certificate. if you don't have photo ID, you can apply for one of those. You still need a photo to upload. It's all very electronic. I suspect that some people that don't have photo ID probably don't use the internet that much as some of us do perhaps. So that could be problematic. But that is open. Obviously, the council will be using all its channels to advertise this. I will be speaking to the officers about how we're going to physically help get some people signed up who might really struggle with it, especially the electronic form. And I believe Disability Equality, which you will all be aware of, Over the Road, are advertising it now and will help obviously those people that they serve who need help. So we're on it, we'll be looking at it, we'll be doing it as much as we can. I think we all need to do as much as we can in this council chamber. I'm quite sure you'll all be targeting your own known loyal voters to make sure that they can vote on the day. We certainly will. But we want everybody to be able to vote. It's not really a political thing, this. We want everybody to have access to voting. Of course, that's what it's all about. So we will be doing everything we can.
Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Suxer?
Does Councillor Rawlinson agree with me that we could have done a lot of better things with the officer time than doing this, given the fact that I believe last year across the whole country there were only 3 proven cases of electoral fraud among millions of votes that were actually cast?
As you will all know, it's a really busy time for those officers around election time, and in the build-up and preparing for an election and making sure everything's absolutely right, which they do every year. So this added burden is going to be tough on them, and without a doubt they will rise to the challenge again. But I absolutely agree that you know, they've got enough to do. It's a tough enough job as it is. That's probably why it's important that we do a lot of the legwork if we can.
Councillor Stephen Whittam. Sorry, can you put your mic on?
Yeah, this is in relation to the removal of clause 26 from the animated development. I'm sure you share the frustration of the rest of the council about the loss of the electric charging points, particularly when we are looking at reducing carbon and driving sustainability. I wonder how we've got to that stage at such a late stage after the council has already voted on the scheme. And my question is, what mitigation is the council planning for the loss of those charging points?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question, and we discussed this at Planning Committee, didn't we, about this. We have to put safety first, and I suppose that it is so late in the day, but you know, as incidents happen and new evidence emerges, that's, you know, we have to think on the hoof kind of thing, and that's why it is so late in the day. But we are currently looking at loads of different options for electrical vehicle charging in our car parks. Certainly we're upgrading, well, we're going to start charging for the ones actually in Avenham, which we haven't done before. But we are looking at various options sort of citywide. You know, if you live in a terraced house, how are you going to charge your car? You can't have a wire going across the footpath type thing. So we are looking at various options, and Andrew, our climate change officer, is working very hard on that. He's working with contacts at LCC, he's working with the public as well. So yeah, we will just keep you informed, and yes, of course it's a shame. That would have been a perfect opportunity in that car park, but we have to put safety first. Thanks.
Do you have a supplementary to that? No. I have no further indications for anyone to speak. If you did put your hand up, please show again now. No. On that basis, we've just been doing half an hour worth of questions, so I will return to Councillor Duke if you do have that further question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies for the rookie error earlier. No, it was just to stress the point really about whether we're going to do physical drop-in sessions, because we've already said, you know, people that aren't online, and I really do feel that something run by officers, not members here in terms of councillors, would be the best way to go in terms of having physical drop-in sessions that we could all advertise in our community. So thank you.
I'll have to find out whether we've got that sort of capacity. It's not a bad idea, I'm sure. As I said, there may be other bodies doing some sort of physical help. I'm sure, you know, we can help a lot. I will have to see whether we have capacity within the council to do that.
Okay. Right, I have no further questions, so we'll move on to item number 6 then. Item 6 is a report on audits. Councillor Rawlinson, do you wish to move the report with the alterations?
Yeah, this is the extra meeting of Audit Committee for the 21-22 accounts, which have been quite difficult to resolve. We've only just recently done the previous years, mainly due to COVID returns and rule changes.
Is that seconded, please? Councillor Brown, thank you. I'm not aware of any amendments. No one's indicated their wishes. Apologies, Councillor Hart, please come in.
Sorry, it was just to clarify that if you just sort of, when you read in that report, look in 3.3, we are actually bringing the information on the following meeting forward, so rather than it just being an additional meeting, it is actually bringing it forward rather than putting in an extra one. It is exactly as you've said, in order to get us back online with all the issues we've had, but rather than it be an extra meeting, it is actually bringing the April meeting forward to March.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who's got any questions or clarifications? In which case, if I can go back to Councillor Rawlinson, please.
Happy to move that, yeah.
Okay, that being the case, if we move to the vote, if we can have a show of those in favour, please. And any against? Any abstentions? No, okay. Moving on, item number 7 is a report on Lancashire 2050. Councillor Matthew Brown, do you wish to move the report with the alterations?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. There's quite a number of these similar reports going or have gone to neighbouring councils within Lancashire. It continues from a report that went to January 22 Council on the county deal then, but within that there's reference to Lancashire 2050. So within this report it refers to developing a long-term strategic plan for Lancashire. So we want to make sure Lancashire is as prosperous and a brilliant place for everyone to live by 2050. It's partnership working with all 15 councils in Lancashire, so that's the 2 unitaries, the 12 districts and the county council together. The idea behind it is that we collectively show, and we're serious to government, that we're working together to achieve positive aims for the county, and we hope that will then make them listen in terms of getting a reasonable devolved settlement. So there's thematic groups that have been established as part of that around housing, transport and infrastructure, economic prosperity, that will be chaired by leaders and chief executives. So basically this report is to basically endorse the strategic framework, which is Appendix A. There's not a lot of flesh on the bones, but it's the direction of where we're going as a county. And then agree that the leader of the council continues to work with leaders in line with principles already agreed by full council in January 2022. And that I will make representations on council matters within this process as I see fit. Yes, I mean, within all this process, there's still a little frustration from our side. We feel that the devolution deal that we did put to government isn't as ambitious as we'd like. Not enough things to tackle the social justice that we'd like to see. And obviously, in the long term, we want to move towards the likes of Greater Manchester, where they do have substantial powers as part of a devolved arrangement. But we've got to start somewhere. This document does take us on that journey quite substantially, Mr. Mayor. Additionally, Councillor Khan was down with other representatives of councils and MPs at Lancashire Day Houses of Parliament promoting this very idea about how we're going to work together to create a more prosperous county going forward. So happy to move, Mr Mayor, and any comments, questions or observations, happy to take them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Do we have that seconded? Councillor Crowe, thank you. Does anyone wish to speak on this item? Councillor Whittam, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to say I welcome this, and I think it's really important that we all work together. We might always not agree, but this is a good step forward. Thank you, Matthew.
I've had no further indications to speak from anyone. Not aware of any amendments, and so on that basis we will go to well, Councillor Brown, do you want to bring on anything finally before we go on to the votes?
Not at all, just thank you for, I'm assuming silence is golden, Mr Tremolo said, that people aren't speaking because they're happy. So yeah, I mean, glad to have hopefully unanimous support for this, and we'll just move to the vote based on the 2 recommendations within the report. Thank you.
Thank you. So if we go to the vote, can we have a show of those in favour, please? Any against? Any abstentions? Excellent. Item number 8 is a report on the Pay Policy Statement 2022. Councillor Rawlinson, I understand you're moving the report.
This is the annual obligation under the Localism Act to publish certain pieces of information about council staff pay. It was designed to embarrass councils into publishing the salaries of overpaid council executives. This council has no such embarrassment. Our pay ratios are as narrow as anywhere in the public or private sector, I would guess. And we have restructured at every opportunity and narrowed the pay in this council, and I would have thought that our pay scales favourably match any other council in the country. Obviously, I can't speak for other councils and the size of their pay, but when you look at the jobs that they do, huge responsibility, huge numbers of staff, chief execs have been charged with manslaughter and all sorts of things for not, you know, for not doing things quite right, and it's a very, very tough job, and despite the pay, I don't think I would like to do it. So we have no problem bringing this forward.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Brown, thank you. Does anyone wish to speak? Nope. Again, aware of no amendments. So if we go on to the vote, can I have a show of those in favour, please? Thank you. And those against? Any abstentions? Okay. Moving on, item number 9 is a report on the proposed calendar of meetings for 2023 to 24. Councillor Rawlinson, I believe you are again moving the report.
I'm just going to move this. I did ask my group if they could spot any errors or anything, any glaring clashes. I don't think I've received anything. I don't know if the other groups have anything, but yeah, it's obviously it's very good to plan ahead, and it's a very useful document.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Brown again, thank you. Anyone wish to speak? Nope. So if we move to the vote, can I have a show of those in favour, please? Okay. Any against? Any abstentions? Okay. Item number 10 is a report from the Independent Remuneration Panel on members' allowances for 2022-23 and for 2023-24. Councillor Rawlinson, again, I believe you're moving this report.
We are going to propose that we accept the recommendations in the report. I do feel, and I think a few others do feel, that it's a bit of an odd conclusion that they've come to give us 4% one year and nothing the year after, and to break the link between council allowances and staff pay, presumably just because the staff pay rise is much higher than it has been for a number of years. So it's a strange decision. On the face of it, it looks a little bit political, and it's supposed to be an independent panel. Obviously, everybody's got their own opinions, but to say you can't have a rise next year because of the cost of living crisis when everybody's out on strike for better pay, it seems a very odd decision. But to save, you know, political rows and finger pointing, and you know, we're not here for the money. If we were here for the money, we wouldn't be here, would we? We'd be somewhere else. So we will just go with it.
Thank you, Councillor Rawlinson. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Brown again, thank you. Does anyone wish to speak? Nope. In which case we will go to the vote. Can I have a show of those in favour, please? And any against? Any abstentions? Okay. Moving on to item number 11. Item 11 is notification of changes to the membership of committees. Are there any changes to reports? Councillor Shannon, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a change from Councillor Duke is replacing Councillor Shannon as substitute on overview and scrutiny.
Thank you. Anything from the other two groups? No. Okay, moving on. Item number 12 is the Leaders' Report. Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak on this item?
No, Mr. Mayor, this is for noting only. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Item number 13 is special urgency decisions, but there are none to report to this meeting. So item number 14 is to note that the next meeting of full council is the budget meeting, which will be held on Thursday the 23rd of February 2023 at the Town Hall here. Please note that the change of time will be 10 o'clock in the morning rather than the afternoon to avoid a clash with a meeting at County Hall. So now we need to consider passing the following resolution: that the public be excluded from this meeting during consideration of the following items of business on the grounds that there is likely to be disclosure of exempt information which is described in the paragraphs of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, which is specified against the headings to each item, and that in all the circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing it. Can I have a show of hands, those who are happy to agree the exemption and move to Part B of this meeting?